Happy
afternoon.
Friday.
See, it's not a happy Friday with this rain, darling. It's a nightmare.
I haven't got any rain. I don't have it. I'm
really?
looking at the sunshine.
I'm not listening to you. I'm hearing a whining sound again, Sherry.
Well, I must tell you what happened to me this morning. So this morning I decided to walk my doggies, and I thought, well, it's very wet and damp outside, so I don't want my lovely hair to go all frizzy in the rain. Yep. So I put this on.
Brilliant. Brilliant idea.
Was
that from a hotel, Debbie? In the
yes,
bathroom?
It was. Now, do you remember years ago, we used to go to hairdressers, didn't we? Not hairdressers, and when we were on location, or when we were at hairdressers, they used to give you one of these as a rain hat.
I love that. They did. Yes.
So I thought, I am bound, of course, to bump into somebody. I have to. I mean, never bumping into anybody normally. So I am there, not with the earrings on, I hasten to add. So you can imagine, earrings off. I then, walking with the dogs, and we're having a really nice walk, and there is a very attractive man that lives sort of 4 doors away from me. And I often see him and I wave to him, and always like that. So this morning, there I am with 3 dogs, don't ask, all on leads, and he comes walking towards me going, hi, and I've got this on my head.
What did you do?
And I went, oh, and I literally ran into the net, sort of like into a doorway, and he said to me, are you all right? I went, yes. And he went, oh, and I said, what is it? And he went, I'm just going to the station. I went, oh, good, bye. And he must be, that woman is insane.
Well,
so
can I say, Debbie, I think the fact that he didn't fall over or run screaming away from you is 100 points to him, because not only that, he acknowledged you, he didn't blanch. Yeah. In fact, he then communicated with you, and you, like a nutter, ran into a doorway and shouted at him.
Or, Harriet, he can't see.
Of course.
This is the other possibility.
Well, the other thing to make him not very attractive was that he was walking to the station in a pair of shorts.
Oh.
It was raining. He looked a bit weird. I kept thinking,
well, let me just show you mine then.
Hang on. Oh, hang on. What's she getting out?
You got?
Oh,
that's
mine. I got one. Oh.
That's never looked better, Sherry.
When I take Teddy out, do you think I quite like that? Do you like that?
I love that.
I think you've never looked better, darling. It's so flattering.
The return of these should happen. We should get rain hats back again. They were absolutely brilliant.
But they had little tags on, didn't they? Because I remember, I remember my ex-husband. I have to tell you this story very quickly. My ex-husband, his mother was this really ferocious Irish lady, but she was a buyer for the House of Fraser. And I went up to Scotland one day with him, with my ex-husband, and we went out in the rain. He had a hoodie, and he put the hoodie up, and she looked at him and said, take that hoodie down. Where's your sense of style? And he went, but Mum, I might get pneumonia. She said, take it down. So we had to walk in the pouring rain with his hoodie down.
Well, quite right.
The fact that he listened to his mother.
Who's coming in now?
We've got the lovely Helena Watts, who is going to give us all the inside showbiz gossip of today. Ooh. Helena, where are you? Great. We can't wait.
Hi. So, Helena, what's been happening this week?
One of the big things this autumn that everyone is looking forward to is Strictly Come Dancing.
Yes.
But there's a big if. What if it might not even be on air? Because Harvey, one of the younger contestants, he has contracted the coronavirus. So he's now in isolation. And they are hoping that it hasn't spread to anybody else. They're saying at the moment that it hasn't. He did do some press with Jason Bell and Maisie Smith, and also Clara Amfo, and they were all tested and they didn't get the virus. So everyone is hoping that he's going to be fine and he's going to be back on the show.
Wow.
Absolutely.
But it is, I think, Strictly at the moment, it is in a bit of chaos. I mean, Shirley Ballas has just released her book, and she spoke about how she had a feud with Craig Revel Horwood because he insulted her breasts.
Insulted them?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
how can you insult somebody
personally?
Yeah, well,
you two. I don't like you two.
Yeah, he made some insults about her, and she said that it really it dug deep, because when she was married to her ex-husband, he used to insult her all the time and make comments about her looks, and she said that it really affected her. So she had it out with Craig, and she said, like, you can't, because Craig is known for being Mr. Nasty, isn't he? and being
but not in real life.
Not in real life, he's not.
Only as an act on the show, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not in real life.
No.
But Helena, did you? I need to tell you something that you probably don't know, and it should go all over the press. That Harriet's boobs actually don't talk to each other, and they have separate. They have separate Winnebagos when they work together. They have separate agents.
Are they divas? Are they?
It's very difficult to walk around with them, but I don't have any choice. So.
That is fabulous. I love that. But yeah, anyway, so there is this feud between them as well, and I don't know if you've seen, but Dancing on Ice has tapped up some brilliant celebrities for the show. They've got Rebecca Vardy and Jason Donovan and Mylene Klaas, which I think is a phenomenal lineup.
Denise Van Alten as well.
Denise Van Alten, who I love.
Yes, she's lovely.
When does Dancing on Ice go out?
So that's not until January.
So it's quite so we can spread out our two things that we love watching. That's really good.
That's great.
Well, of course, but the Dancing on Ice thing, everybody starts now because they takes them weeks to learn how to skate.
We don't see them, of course. Yeah.
And also, I do wonder when celebrities, when they want to go on Dancing on Ice, I don't understand why. I think it's absolutely terrifying.
Well, what do you think, darling? Why do you think they go on? Why do you think they go on?
Well, I think it is exciting because I had ice skating lessons when I was like about 9 or something, and it is really fun. But I just think now, you get a bit older, you get maybe a bit more fearful.
No, we're too young, darling. We don't think like that. I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. We're fearless. Yeah.
Fearless women, yes.
Yes. Warriors.
Thank you so much, darling. That's such good
darling.
So you said you had something else as well?
Oh, yes. No, I do actually. Yes, there was a story that was in the Mirror today about Lisa McPartlin. She's thrown out all of her love letters that she was given by Alla Anton Deck, and a Valentine, which included a Valentine card that he once gave her, and she threw it out into the dumpster, and someone has stolen it, and she's reported him to the police.
Oh my goodness!
Which,
I think the thing is, if you put something in your rubbish, how do you know someone's stolen it? Do you go back to your things to look about what's taken? Seems a bit of a weird thing to do.
It is kind of weird thing to do. Wouldn't you just burn it?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Maybe she just threw it, got a big bag and threw it out. But what a shame. Somebody's going to publish that, aren't they?
But then there was a bit of a twist in this story because obviously the police have been involved. And apparently she left books in boxes on the street and she said to passers-by, help yourself. So I think maybe the person who's taken them thinks that was, a reason for him to be able to steal her rubbish. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Of course you can't do that.
No.
But it's all a bit strange.
She started her own makeup range as well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
she's got makeup.
We'll have to look out for that.
She's got a new boyfriend as well. I can't remember his name, but apparently she's found someone. So I'm really happy for her. She deserves that.
Yeah. She deserves that. She really deserves lovely happiness. Yeah.
She's a lovely person.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Oh, so that's it for me.
All right.
Thank you so much, darling.
See you
Thank you, Helena.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, I don't think anybody's going to care about Valentine cards, are they?
No, it just depends though, doesn't it? If there's something more sort of intimate or revealing, you know what I mean? If he's done sort of heartfelt stuff, people love to read that, don't they?
Well, they do, but it's of no consequence or seriousness or in this world we live in.
Yeah.
I
think there's more important things to worry about.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, and yes, talking about that, we do have Dr. Pam Spurr, who is coming to see us, and she's going to talk about all things, all different sort of things. So, Pam, are you there? Hi, Pam.
Welcome, Pam.
How are you?
I'm really well, and I'm so happy to join you. And it's, it's World Smile Day, and you all put a smile on my face when I watch your shows.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pam. We do try. I wanted to kick off. I know it's a bit of an obvious question, Pam, but because of this pandemic and everything, what has been the thing with you? What do people ask you? What advice do you give? I mean, we all have to keep up, I know, and be happy and find a positive way through this. So what do people say to you? What is your advice to them?
Well, Sherry, you know, when it first started, when we first locked down, I couldn't believe how many contacts I had to my website. I mean, it just escalated, all about anxiety at the beginning. So say from mid-March onwards, people were very anxious, and people who maybe already had a bit of OCD around cleaning and washing routines, they were sort of getting a bit more freaked out and anxious about how much do I have to wash. But then there was a transition, and about 6 weeks into lockdown, I had many more couples contacting my site about how they can get on better, because they'd found it very stressful to be locked down. So there was a big transition there, and it was more about families who suddenly were struggling with juggling so many different things.
And also, you know what I found, Pam? I don't know about you, but so as we've gone along, we've come to this point now. I'm finding it more difficult now than I did in lockdown. You know, the opening up, the shutting down, the not knowing, the confusion. And I know friends of mine are struggling, and it's because, you know, I live on my own, and sometimes your head seems to be bursting with this, what world are we living in, and the masks, and it's worse now for me than it was before.
I think a lot of people are finding that, and the reason is because as the way our psychology works, when we're told something like a short, sharp shock, we can almost cope better. So suddenly everybody's going, oh, we're in this together. We've got to save the NHS. We're going to do this. We're all going to, you know, try and obey the rules. But then as time goes on, and as you say, it's that keyword confusion got introduced with how things changed. And people really only have the stamina to cope for a certain length of time with great uncertainty. And that's what we're all facing. And this is where our resilience comes out. And when I've given advice to people over the last few months, it's all about being, you know, sort of boosting their resilience to cope with how things are changing week by week, and how they have to find what works for them to make their mental health better to cope.
It's true.
It's true, isn't it? And Pam, can I just say to you, the thing is, you obviously are helping so many people. But how do you cope? I mean, you've got the artwork in the background. That's yours, isn't it?
That's right.
Does that help you?
It really does. Good question, Dee, because I retook up art last autumn. And during lockdown, I was very ill with COVID. My family and I had it, the family I was locked down with. And even though during COVID on my better days, it was one release. Because for me too, I'm used to living a very free life. I'm in and out of London. I travel, I meet clients, I consult to all sorts of companies. So for me, it was also a massive change, like anyone else. And that was my release. And one thing with a lot of people I was doing Skype sessions with was about, you need to find your release, the thing that just takes your mind out of what we're all going through. And for me, it's my painting.
And they're fabulous paintings. I mean, I can see all the colours. They're absolutely beautiful. Are you going to have an exhibition with your paintings?
Funny enough, I had my first exhibition in Soho just before lockdown. So everyone came to see my paintings, and then it was locked down, you know, the venue where they were all. And I've only just started getting them back now, because I've been going into town, bringing back a few at a time, because I had 11 paintings in the exhibition, and it was for International Women's Week, and all the paintings I included were all based on people's stories. Like this one here, which I don't know how much you can see, is called Depression Lifting, and it was one client's story, someone I worked with about 10 years ago, who'd been very depressed about many things, including her divorce, but also her body image. And as we worked together and she gained more control over her depression rather than it controlling her, she just said, I feel like it's lifting, almost butterfly-like, but also there's sort of images of breasts there, because she was starting to feel happier with her body and herself and moving on, looking for a new relationship. So that's where they kind of almost butterfly, but also body image issues of kind of emerging from depression.
Oh, how fabulous. That's wonderful. You must let us know when you got your next exhibition, and we'll all come after lockdown.
Are coming.
Thank you.
What was very, very interesting about what's been happening to everybody is that now we're trying to find other ways to find our identities, and that's really hard, isn't it, to sort of reinvent yourself. Actually, I wrote a book called The Power of Reinvention. So
oh my gosh,
yes, on Amazon. I reinvent myself a lot, but what are you doing? How are you reinventing yourself, and how hard do you find it?
Well, I find that, people are always pigeonholed, no matter what career we choose. And yet we live in the age where there's so much instability economically, especially post 2008, the crash. People do not have a career for life. And I've done a lot of career coaching with people looking for something new to do. And for me, it's just that I love my work as a psychologist and life coach. But I also have this passion for painting that had been kind of dormant for years. So reinventing yourself comes with the excitement, but then the reality, when I first was knocking on a couple of doors saying, would you like to see my paintings? People are going, well, but you're a psychologist. What do you do? And it's that kind of, you have to open your mind in your own life and with other people, all of you, with whoever you meet, you have to think, well, they're trying something new. That's to be encouraged, rather than let's shut that door. You're pigeonholed. You go in that little box. And it's very convenient for me to think of you that way. But you have to kind of challenge that, and I feel all of us have to do that, particularly in this day and age.
Yeah, especially as the Chancellor is saying that we all need to retrain.
Yeah.
As what?
Yeah, exactly. As what?
As what? Yes, we all need your advice on that, Pam.
You're so right. You're so right, Pam. And what's interesting and what is moving, all of us have been at one time or another single parents. And that is a sense of when we grow up in our youth with Sleeping Beauty and every other story, the idea that I would ever be divorced and bringing up children of my own, aged 5 and 8, was a mystery to me. And yet, it was one of the things that gave me strength to know I'm not defined by anything or anybody. Yes. And I think that sense of reinvention, and innately in our job as performers, we endlessly have to do that. And so, again, we're in and out of work all the time. And again, like that, I'm not defined. I have a consultancy business. I teach in drama schools. I do loads of charity work. I'm not defined by one thing, because if I don't have that one thing that I think I am, when it's not there, I become nothing. Exactly. And hearing you talk about your art, it's always been there. And that thing of doing what you know, instinctively what you know, we never ask ourselves that question often. And yet that's the thing, that is the key to this freedom that we have. We've had birth control, we've had education. And when I reached 50, I was told to go and get my will sorted out and get a free pen. I was told to go on a cruise, and I was told to, that was the excitement, the free pen. So I won it for me. And also go on a cruise or go on a golfing holiday with a husband that I didn't have. Oh, at which point you think, naff off, world. This isn't, the generation ahead of us had that. We don't. And so this is why we have Wonderbirds. Again, this collective, and it's so wonderful having you here today, because this collective of women, we are all inspired by each other, by friends, to move forward, to not be defined by one thing. Your art is testament to that.
Well, I absolutely love what you have just been saying, Harriet, because you're absolutely right. People get bombarded. I remember when I turned 50 and suddenly Saga got my email. How did they get that?
Yes. Well, I think they're attached to MI5.
Saga?
Pat, they're attached to MI5, because I moved 3 times and they found me.
Really?
And the leaflets came through my door. How did they know?
Detective skills. I know that. Don't want to be pigeonholed. Certainly as we grow older, you want to still feel you have the options that supposedly only the young have, which is not true. We have the wisdom, experience to add to whatever choice we decide to make. And as I say, I love what you have to say about that, because if only people could realize they can unlock different potentials they have. It's not going to be easy. We can't all be whatever we want to be, but we can try, and we can get skills training. We can think about what our dreams have been, and actually tapping in maybe to a new line of work that taps into those dreams. So it's about believing that you can change as life changes, and
you're so right.
You can change ahead of it.
Yes. And it's hard, because we as performers, we're not as Debbie and Dee and Sherry have already said, you know, we're told we have to retrain, we're not of value. And yet, again, we're broke, we haven't earned anything, we're struggling. I've just done a little bit of work. It's the only work I've done all year. I've got, you know, all sorts of issues going on, as we all have in this world. You know, we sit here and we have each other and we share this anxiety, and it helps us a lot. But it is tough to think, well, I don't know what to do now. And as you said, this is the time to reinvent yourself. And yet lockdown is absolutely,
it's
the
hard.
imagery. We can't always do that instantaneously, but we have the time, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of the people who've come to me via Skype, I haven't been doing any face-to-face work. You know, it's things like, well, actually, if I learn a language, that might help my chances of some of the things I wanted to do with my life. So there is a lot of online learning to be had in sorts of areas that people can take advantage of. And this is where I think the net has become a very useful, you know, there's a big sewer pit out there that's a lot of the internet, but it's also just take advantage of things that maybe will get you that step further to new skills training for people listening today. And
where do we find you, Pam? Where do we find you?
Well,
online?
I'm at drpam.co.uk. So it's really.
We'll put this at the end of the show.
Pam, can I just say something though? You have to have within you, and you know this. People have to have within them the strength and the emotional strength to be able to go and do what you've just said. Some people are at a stage where they've not given up, but don't know how to get out of the rut they're in. And to have, you know, you've got to find that strength from somewhere. And I'm not sure where you find it, and I'm sure you can advise people how to, but it's not always a case of, well, we can all do this, we don't all have that emotion in us.
Oh, absolutely.
No, you're so right.
Sherry, that is an excellent point. The fact that for some people, it's just starting every day thinking something positive, starting to substitute positive thoughts for all the worries, anxiety, and depressive thoughts they have. Just one simple step. Try and develop a positive outlook. And with that, things like self-care. You have to be getting enough sleep. You have to be eating food that is good for you, not lots of sugar that sends you up and down. So there are a lot of basic things about what you're saying that will help someone's basic well-being to try and move them down the path to one day they feel they can think about their choices of what they might do. But that is so true, Sherry. So many people are not in the headspace yet.
And they're scared, Pam. They're scared. You know, and I understand that completely.
Well,
there's a lot of fear.
Sorry, our great friend Julie Peasgood, who
our mutual
introduced
friend.
us, who is my best friend. But Julie has a great saying, and I think this is really, really true. She always says, when I'm feeling depressed, she's feeling depressed, things are going wrong. She said, I'm not there yet. I have to reach the bottom of the bounce. And that is such a good analogy, because you have to get down. You've got to get to a point where you can't go any further, and that's when you start to come up again. And if you try and do something before you get there,
exactly. And I say embrace the pain. Embrace the pain, because if you try and bury it, or you try and self-medicate with alcohol, which has been a big issue in lockdown.
Massive.
You know, you don't bury it, you don't self-medicate it, you embrace it, you wrap your arms around it and go, my God, I feel horrible. I am not going to run from it. I'm going to ride with it, because when you ride with it and face it, you start seeing the little tiny solutions, and you start
I think so.
That way.
And you know, Pam, I was thinking, you know, people of our age group, really, we've got a lot of advantages, because we've got a lot of life experience. We know sometimes we've, you know, had a career and maybe we want to change career, but I think, do you advise people in our age group that actually we've got so much going for us, and we can really turn it around because we have that, you know, that backbone of support in our own world?
Funny enough, I was just talking on a BBC station the other night about elder people and sex, and never feeling.
What's that, dear? What's that? Pam, what's that word?
What's that called?
How do you spell that?
You've confused me, dear. I don't know what you're talking about.
And how, if you're in a partnership, although you may be older and you may have aches and pains, you may have issues, physical issues, sex is different as you age, but you can still have that connection within a relationship. And yes, when people of a certain age group get in touch with me, we're often talking about career. What can I do? I don't want to retire. And relationship. Our relationship is, we've neglected it. What can we do to make things better? So it's usually those two things. The third thing are the single people in sort of the over 55s who are concerned about how do they date again, because it's all so new. Online dating, when we were all dating, it's like we didn't have apps, we didn't have all this stuff going on, social media. So those are probably the three main things. It's career, my relationship that I'm in, and then I'm single, but I want to find someone,
Pam, will you please come back and we can have an in-depth discussion about the word I'm confused of.
Yes,
and the
late night. I saw on one of your shows you talking about late night, doing a late night.
Yes, and you're on the show. You're on the show.
You are the late night.
Because you can, that's a given. Thank you so much for coming on the show this afternoon. You've been so inspirational. And yes, you are coming back to do a late night show. Non-negotiable. And it helped us with the confusion.
You're all very inspirational. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, darling.
And you, thank you.
Bye, darling.
Bye, Pam. Bye.
Sherry, it was so wonderful you saying that, because you're so right. You don't always know you have the choice. You're in a state of a mental confusion and despair and depression.
Absolutely.
And you don't see it. And hearing you say that was so fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up.
I think it's the fear, people are frightened, people are scared, and and when you're on your own, that fear and scare, it's like being, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you think, oh my God, how am I going to pay that bill? And I've got that bill. And I think the panic is so terrible sometimes.
It is.
You've got no one, and you just think, when will this ever end?
Yeah.
When all of us are the same, we all feel the same.
And
it is the financial panic is setting in right now for me. I don't know about you guys, but the reality of that is just overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah,
it really is overwhelming.
But I think the thing is that we're all in the same boat, and it's not just us boys. It's everybody feels exactly the same way.
On a lighter note, as we're now in October, Christmas is looming. Christmas is looming. So I think tomorrow, because our lovely Richard can't be with us, just the four of us can talk about Christmas presents and other occasions as well. But I think that's going to be a very exciting conversation we're going to have.
Oh yes. Yes, we can get lots and lots of our goodies out and see what.
Well, we could get our Christmas trees out, and that's not a euphemism.
Oh, dear God. Please, somebody stop the show. I'm begging you now. Christmas and getting out your Christmas trees.
Over and
Can't
out.
do it. Bye.
Bye.